Who is climbing? Who is falling? And who just flat out stinks?
Some of y'all football sucks.
This is the Big 12 Power Poll with Jake and Ben on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, join Hanson Scotty at Tim Daly Nissan Southtown coming up on Thursday from 1 to 3 for the Ute Preview Show. 11155 South Jordan Gateway in South Jordan.
Sound like you glitched there for a minute.
Think Nissan, think Tim Daly Southtown.
11155 South.
You're speaking binary.
Yeah, I like it. Ones and zeros.
I never know, with our lingo around here, I never know what to do with addresses like that. Is like 11155 South? Is that what people would say? It's in South Jordan. It's very easy to find.
11,155.
You can see it from the freeway. I've been there.
Go see them.
It's a very nice facility. All right, the Big 12 Power Poll. I have a feeling we're not going to have a lot of movement at the bottom because none of these teams played. Where are we starting, Christian?
Number 16. Still number 16. Kansas.
The only one-win team in the conference. But they do get to play Houston this weekend, another chance to get a victory.
Next.
Number 15. Still number 15. TCU.
Low.
Yeah, well, they play Utah this week, and so conceptually, if we believe Utah is not the worst team, is not as bad as Kansas, they should beat TCU, and this game's at home. I just don't know what to make of Utah at all and what the vibes will be. Really curious this weekend for what that game's going to feel like.
Something tells me TCU isn't going to end the year at 15. Not that they're great, but
Think they're going to fall to 16?
I don't think they're that bad. All right, next.
Still number 14. Houston.
Again, all these teams had byes.
My Cougs.
They didn't play anybody. They are at Kansas this weekend.
Should win.
In what many call the toilet bowl.
All right, next.
Number 13. Baylor.
Still stinks. 2-4. Playing a pretty good Texas Tech team this weekend.
They should take another L. I'm guessing that'll be 2-5.
They've played okay in spots, but no, I'm not believing in them.
Next.
And number 12. Oklahoma State.
Did you hear Mike Gundy got hit in the face by a bull? He was out riding with his cows. He was out riding with his cows or whatever. He pretends to be a cowboy in his free time, and one of them hit him in the face, so he couldn't do his press conference in person. He had to do it virtually because he had a black eye.
What? You can't show up
The
because you've
most
got a
Mike
black
Gundy
eye?
story. It is the most Mike Gundy story. Had this happened to anybody else, I would ask why. But when I heard it was Mike Gundy, I thought, yeah, that tracks.
Instead of wrangling cows, I'd look into why my Doak Walker award-winning running back forgot how to play football.
Yeah, sure.
I would probably start there. Why is it that you're not, leading the conference in rushing? I would guess it has something to do with the O-line. That might, but I'd probably get his opinion. Like, why aren't you playing as well?
That whole thing's dysfunctional. And they're going to get torn up by BYU this weekend.
All right, next.
Number 11. Central Florida.
I wish I could move all these teams down.
Yeah, this is a team that, again, people are talking about as a dark horse to win the conference and a good running game, and Gus Malzahn and KJ Jefferson, and boy, this team stinks. Lost at home, I think, to Cincinnati.
Yeah, they did, 19-13.
Yeah.
And the half the team is left?
Half the team's quit on the coach and is trying to preserve their red shirt years. Yeah, it's disgusting. Not the team, the whole situation.
Next.
Our first movement in this week's poll coming in at number 10, down from 9 last week, West Virginia.
This isn't a bad loss, losing to Iowa State 28-16, but they did lose, and they're 3-3 now. This is a team member that surprised everybody and saved their coach's job last year, and they've just been okay.
Yeah, a lot of these teams are just okay, if not less than that.
And should be below 500 after this weekend because they're on the road. Or no, they're at home against Kansas State. I think Kansas State gets that victory.
I would guess. I think Kansas State's really good.
It's all right.
All right, next.
Number 9 and our biggest faller this week. No surprise, though, Utah.
Should have fallen.
You guys both had Cincinnati over Utah. I think Utah's better than Cincinnati. But Utah has lost 2 in a row.
Cincinnati beat UCF. Utah lost to Arizona State. Utah lost to a team that I know we haven't gotten to them in the rankings yet, but I still don't think Arizona State is great.
They're 5-1.
I think they've got a great running back.
Yeah.
But I don't think their defense is all that great.
No, and their quarterback's only okay. Levitt's okay.
I think if Cam could have actually thrown a football, I think
Utah wins that game.
Yeah. So I don't know. This type of thing was difficult, but Utah's lost 2 in a row to, well, 2 teams they probably should have beat, or at least we thought.
They should have at least split those games. Utah should not be 2-0 or 0-2 in those games. So yeah, they lose to Arizona State. They slip TCU this weekend, and a chance to move to 5 wins. That is I guess where my complaint would be. Utah's still 4-2, and all these teams around them are still only 3-3.
Next,
Number 8, Cincinnati.
Beat Central Florida 19-13 at Arizona, or at home against Arizona State this weekend. So that's interesting. We will get a kind of an apples to apples comparison between those 2 teams.
who's Cincinnati's wins now? Towson,
Yeah,
Miami of Ohio,
those are really good.
Houston,
Okay, those are their 3 wins.
and UCF.
Oh, so they're 4-3.
They are.
Is that right? Or are they 4-2?
They're 4-2.
Okay.
Their losses are to Pitt by only 1 point, and Pitt's actually decent, 28-27, and Texas by a field goal, 44-41. So I would argue that is, yes.
Texas
Okay.
Tech.
Or what did I say? Texas.
You said Texas.
Texas Tech. I would argue that is, yes, a better resume than
And I
Utah.
apologize. I had them at 3-3 and not 4-2 when I make the poll. So this is my fault. Okay, I'll listen to that argument. Yeah, that's better. Their wins aren't that great though. Neither are Utah's. To be fair.
Utah's wins are Southern Utah, Baylor, Utah State, and Oklahoma State.
Yeah, Utah doesn't have a great win either.
All right, next.
Number 7, Arizona.
3-3, lost to BYU, 41-19. You were right. You said BYU was going to hold them into the teens in scoring. And you were dead on.
The defense is lights out.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They've got players all over the field.
What did Noah Fafita end up throwing for?
Oh, here, give me a second. I can tell you.
Because we talked about that being a big thing. I said he was going to go over 300
275.
yards. He got close. I said he would go over 300. He didn't.
26 of 52, 275. But that was the only way that Arizona would win is if they threw the ball all over BYU, and that they did not. His average per completion was 5.3 yards.
Yeah, and he kept throwing the ball to BYU, which was the stupid thing. He shouldn't have done that.
Should not have done that.
Don't do that. Don't
No.
throw those ducks in the end zone. What are you
That's
doing?
Bad news.
No, throw it to your team.
No, he needed to go throw it all over BYU's defense, and he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think that actually says more about BYU's defense than it does Fafita. I don't know. Maybe people would disagree, but
I mean, 26 of 52 passing is not good. 275 yards on 52 attempts is terrible.
right. I think that
And
has
yeah,
to do
one
more
touchdown,
with
3
no, but I
interceptions.
think that has
Oof.
more to do with BYU's defense than it does Fafita. That's my point.
I agree.
I'm aware that the performance wasn't great. I think that had a lot to do with the Cougs.
But man, his freshman year might have been a fluke. He was really good last year. He's been awful this year. He's just been bad, and that's the credit BYU. They exploited a bad quarterback, but he has 5 interceptions and 1 touchdown in his last 2 outings.
No, it's not great.
Yeah,
I
that's
got
really
you.
bad.
All right, next.
4
Number
touchdowns,
6.
8 interceptions on the season for Noah Fafita. Horrible.
Number 6, Arizona State.
They're 5-1.
I think Dilly Dilly is a good coach.
He's doing okay.
I think he's a really good coach.
Yeah.
I do. I think he's really sharp. He doesn't make a lot of the stupid mistakes that most young coaches make. And I think he runs a really tight ship. I think it's really the fact that he's leaning into how hot it is in Arizona is an interesting example of how I think it's super smart. It's hot here. Got to be tough.
Yeah.
Play football here. If you're going to let another team talk you out of playing here because it's so hot, well, this probably is not a good fit for you because this just in. It's hot here.
Yeah.
Don't run away from it. Embrace it. I think he's going to have success at Arizona State. I really
I
do.
think he's going to have his success somewhere else because he's not going to stay at Arizona State.
See, but that's where I find it intriguing. All this, well, I want to model the program after Utah stuff might actually mean something. Whereas a lot of times it's lip service. But if you look at Utah, it's a coach that found where he wanted to be and just stayed and built a program.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe that's lip service, but he's from there. He's an
He
Arizona
is.
guy.
He
He's
is.
selling his story.
You're right.
So I wonder. Next.
Number 5, Colorado.
It just makes me want to vomit.
But they're pretty
voting
good.
Colorado this high. Yeah, they're okay. They're better than I thought.
Yeah.
I'll throw that out there.
They're going to go to a bowl game. They are very explosive. Shedeur Sanders is incredibly good. He's incredibly talented, and he has talent around him. The defense stinks. Again, they had Kansas State beat, had him on the ropes, and immediately gave up a touchdown after they took. Well, it was a near pick 6. They punched it in 2 plays after the interception, late in the fourth quarter there. and then just allowed Kansas State to march down the field and get an easy touchdown, and they couldn't move the ball.
It still bothers me that Deion's whole game plan is to highlight his children. One son was hurt and not contributing because, he's hurt, but still played the whole game anyway. And Ben, Shador threw it 40 times, 388 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. 34 of 40, which because he is a good quarterback.
Yeah.
That it's not crazy. It is manufactured. And I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I'm saying it's manufactured. How many non-Shador carries did Colorado have in the rush game? I don't know if you have the Baylor. You want to take you want to take a stab at it?
Non-Shador carries 19.
10. Oof. 10.
Yeah.
How do you if that's not Russell Westbrook-like stat padding, I don't know what it is.
And again, they've got a great receiving core. You've got a good quarterback. I get why you throw it, but this wasn't 55 to 52. 31-28 is a low-scoring game.
Colorado did not.
So you can try and keep the ball out of Avery Johnson's hand by running the ball, and they didn't do it at all. Did they have any success on those 10 carries? I'm guessing they did not.
21 yards.
On 10 carries?
On 10 carries.
So no, I might have not run
Shador,
the ball.
and here's part of the problem, though. Like, Shador had 9 carries for negative 50 yards.
Yeah.
You know why that is? Because he's holding the ball forever because he doesn't want to throw an incompletion.
Yeah.
Because he wants bozos like us to go, whoa, 34 of 40.
It's got a little of the Nolan Ryan thing. Remember Nolan Ryan would walk a lot of guys because he liked strikeouts?
Right. It's all stat padding. It's throwing the ball off the backboard to get a rebound.
Yeah.
He won't throw it away. He doesn't want to take the incompletion. He'd rather take the sack. And so he'll hold it and hold it and hold it forever and then take a sack. That's not winning football. That's let's get Shador drafted in the top 10. I don't like it, Ben.
Interesting game this weekend at Arizona. I think they beat Arizona because Arizona stinks, but we'll see.
Next.
Number 4, Texas Tech.
Coming off a bye, they sit at 5-1. They should crush Baylor this weekend.
At home.
And move to 6-1, which is way better than I expected from Texas Tech.
True,
Texas Tech this year.
They still cannot stop anybody, but I don't know if Baylor can score enough points to keep up.
They're not going to punish you.
Next.
Number 3, Kansas State.
Again, just beat Colorado. Sneaky game at West Virginia. This is a game that a team could lose and take themselves out of the conference race.
I don't think they'll do that.
I don't think so either, but someone's bound to lose a bad game. Not named Utah and Oklahoma State.
Next.
And Arizona.
Number 2, Iowa State.
That's a good win over West Virginia, 28-16, doing what they're supposed to. They are rock solid.
They're legit.
Yeah,
I think
stability.
the two teams that we are going to see in the Big 12 title are at the top of this right now, and that's going to be a really fun game to watch. But yes, I think Iowa State's super steady, and they're going to smoke Central Florida this weekend. And by smoke, I mean beat them just like they beat West Virginia 28-16. Though they have shown some ability to put up points, they don't need to. Their defense is so good.
Next.
Still number 1, BYU.
Should be number 1. That's an easy number 1 vote.
Yeah.
They have the best resume in the conference by
BYU should be a top 10 team in the country.
I agree.
Yeah.
And they just thumped Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Thumped Arizona. And Arizona's not terrible. I mean, I don't know if Arizona's as good as we thought that they were going to be, but they're not awful. And for BYU's defense to just stand up like that, I think is impressive. Combine that with Retzloff can make the throws, and BYU's the best team in the conference.
What I'm impressed by is BYU seems to be getting better.
They do seem to be getting better. I agree with that.
Retzloff is getting better. He's having fewer what are you doing throws. He still took a hit he probably shouldn't have taken. But, man, the option, was it 4th down or was it a 3rd? And
go to
he
the
runs
option.
And just like they broke it down on the play after of how he read where the linebacker was and recognized, okay, well, that's going to be man coverage. So if it's man coverage, I do have somebody on the option here, and they don't have the extra defender.
He helps the run game,
okay.
Ben. I've been
He's
saying
really
it forever.
Smart. So he's making good reads on top of making the right plays, and BYU just feels like they understand exactly what their identity is. The players seem to be having fun playing there, and the coaches are really pulling all the right strings.
All right, review.
Number 1, BYU. Number 2, Iowa State. Number 3, Kansas State. Number 4, Texas Tech. Number 5, Colorado. Number 6, Arizona State. Number 7, Arizona. Number 8, Cincinnati. Number 9, Utah. And number 10, West Virginia.
Wish I could vote so many of those teams lower. Like pretty much everybody.
There's a bunch of 500 teams, so it's like okay, but man, not a lot of inspirational teams there.
No, not inspiration. Yeah, not a lot of inspiration.
Basically, behind Arizona State, everyone's pretty underwhelming.
And even Arizona State, I don't think is that
the
great.
most underwhelming 5-1 team I've seen. And I might feel the same thing about Texas Tech.
Yes.
So
I know, it's crazy. All right. Join Hans and Scotty Wednesday from noon to 3. That's tomorrow at Chubby's Cafe in Orem, 1087 South, 750 East. Come taste for yourself what sets Chubby's apart from the rest. We'll have more Jake and Ben coming up straight ahead. Stay tuned. We're going to talk a little hockey, Ben, a little puck with Mike Folta, radio voice of the Utah Hockey Club. Stay tuned. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? It's a Friday night showdown in Provo as the Cougars square off against Oklahoma State. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, listen to the station every week throughout the Utah Hockey Club season for your chance to win tickets. Listen on Friday during JJ and Alex. Tune in at 4 p.m. to the interview with Utah Hockey Club head coach Andre Bear Tierney. Listen for the keyword Bruins, then be caller number 12 to win. One lucky listener will win a pair of tickets to see the Utah Hockey Club versus Boston Bruins at the Delta Center on October 19th. Listen on Friday for your chance to win on your radio home of the Utah Hockey Club, the KSL Sports Zone. Speaking of that, Ben, we are hoping here momentarily to talk to Mike Folta, radio voice of the Utah Hockey Club. So it'll be fun to get his take on the season so far, and we'll find out what happened yesterday. They couldn't score.
You can hear him right here on these airwaves during the Utah Hockey Club season. But yeah, it's a tough game yesterday. But you know what? Sitting at so the tie, where does it fall? Because you're not 3-1. You're 3-1-0, or are they 3-0-1? Where does the loss go? The last line?
I thought ties were the last line, man, as we get to know this sport better.
No, it looks like, yeah, it is. Ties, it's called an overtime loss. So it's not really a tie. It's a loss in overtime. You get the point. They are 3-1-0, just to be clear.
So there you go.
But they have 6 points, which is tied for the lead right now in the Western Conference.
I don't know how many people care about this, but I'm actually curious. I bet as a play-by-play guy, I bet hockey is pretty bananas. Like it's so fast. There's a lot going on. Like, I think baseball is so slow, and there's so much room for commentary. And even, you think of your favorite baseball announcers, and their delivery isn't da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. It's more, and here's the pitch.
Yep.
And here's the 3-2, and fly ball to left. Even the exciting moments are slower. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would bet the game has so much pace. I would imagine it's really difficult.
That you have 5 different 10 if you count both teams, 10 different players on the ice every 45 seconds.
Yep.
And that
players
it's not,
coming in and out. Great point. Yeah.
And it's not always even. I mean, you really got to know hockey numbers. Did you see the Jazz Twitter thing where they filmed it during media day? They had all the players they had the faces of the players. And their jerseys, but their jerseys didn't have the number on it, and they asked each player to put their numbers on, of which number matches to which player.
Okay.
And I don't think it was surprising that actually Isaiah Collier and Colin Sexton got it the quickest because they're point guards. So they kind of just have to absorb all that knowledge. Larry Markin doesn't have to know what anyone's number is.
He's catching passes, not throwing them.
But I would be so bad right now with numbers for the Jazz players. I could tell you 5 of them, 6 of them, in all honesty, because I just know their faces. Hockey, you just have to know everyone's number. You have to be able to say, okay, that's number 38. That's going to be, X player. 22 is Jack McBain.
Similar to football in that way.
Yeah, for sure. But you don't even get the reset. This is this position. This guy's always at left tackle for the, 50 snaps.
Right.
You don't even get that. You get some sense of, okay, well, the scoring line of the front line is probably going to be, as we mentioned, Dursey and Schmaltz, or Dursey's defense, but Schmaltz and Clayton Keller, et cetera. You're going to get some sense of who these players are, but yeah, you better really know the numbers because they are coming in and out really, really quickly. And they don't prioritize radio guys. Radio guys are
Oh,
not
I'm
sitting
sure
right
he's
down
in
there.
the rafters. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure
you might
he's
have to buy a ticket.
right. Well, I can't see half the ice, but I'll do my best.
So, yeah, it's a tough job. That's probably one of the tougher play-by-play jobs.
I would, and I know, and then we don't always have an analyst with radio, but I'd be curious, like, where does an analyst jump in? Like with Booner, you know, as long as it's not fast breaks or whatever, as the ball's walking up the court, Booner gets in and breaks down the last play. And even if he misses a high ball screen while he's talking, and David can quickly catch up because basketball is certainly more high paced than, say, you know, baseball, but you can feel the natural room for analysis. I wonder where that comes with hockey. I mean, I'm sure there's a delicate art to it, but
It is, the action is so fast and furious. You know, it really is a combination of basketball and soccer is what it feels like to me. The free-flowingness really feels a lot like soccer, and the speed feels a lot like basketball, but it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to get to know this team, and be exciting to see them back in Salt Lake City. I'll be curious what the second game looks like. They had so much fanfare for game one when they hosted Chicago, and then they come back on Saturday. They play the Ducks coming up. I think, again, it's tomorrow.
it's tomorrow.
And then Saturday, they're back playing against the Bruins. I'm really excited to see what the crowd continues to look like and how that's going to persist throughout the season. Certainly them getting off to a hot start and there being genuine interest in the team is going to help.
Anaheim may legit have the coolest logo.
You like the duck
The
mask.
duck hockey mask?
Yeah.
That's pretty rad.
I'm with you. And they got rid of it just for that terrible D that they had for a while.
Yeah,
I don't know whose thought that was, or they were trying to get themselves removed from the Disney aspect of it. No, it's a great logo.
Yeah, the Donald hockey mask.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
You're a duck. Have
And
a duck mask.
they were owned by Disney. You don't need to
pretend you weren't.
pretend you weren't. Yeah.
I mean, the Orlando Magic aren't even owned by Disney, and they go by the name The Magic because it's the magical, the most magical place in the world.
Yeah. Magical place on Earth.
On
yeah.
Earth, yeah.
And Anaheim, nobody knows anything about Anaheim except for Disneyland.
Yeah,
is
right.
there.
It's fine.
So yeah, you don't need to run from it. All right, let's get out of the zone phone. Joining us now, he is the radio voice of the Utah Hockey Club. You can hear him over these very airwaves. He's Mike Folta with us on Jake and Ben. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, Jake and Ben, how's it going, guys? Glad to be joining you from actually not so sunny Southern California. Kind of an overcast day, but it's not too bad here in Anaheim. No complaints.
Very cool. We were talking about how difficult your job must be. And, you know, we've listened to a lot of play-by-play in our life. Hockey's new to basically everybody here in Salt Lake City and in Utah. Is it purely based on knowing players' numbers? Do you get familiar with who the players' faces are? In basketball, you know, there's one guy who's 7 feet tall and the next guy's 6 feet tall. It's kind of easy to tell them apart. Hockey, they're all 5'10" to 6'2", with some rare exceptions, and they have helmets on.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to tell who's who, and sometimes in basketball, those broadcasters are sitting courtside or maybe at the top of the bowl, like at the Delta Center or something like that. But in hockey, you're usually way up in the rafters calling a game from a different county, and you're trying to make out who's who, and half the guys are from the Czech Republic and half the guys are from Slovakia. So I usually spend warm-up just looking at players and identifying them and saying their names out loud. That's like part of my routine, especially since, you know, this is my first year with Utah. It's everybody's first year, and I'm seeing a lot of these teams for the first time. And I just spend about 20, 30 minutes before the game just saying their names out loud. That's kind of how I get used to it. But after a while, you get a feel for it. You get a feel for how a guy holds his stick. Like Nick Schmaltz for Utah has white stick tape that goes around the shaft of his lumber, and then Mikhail Sergachev has a certain colored stick as well. And so you kind of notice these little intricacies as you go along, but it's tough.
So tell us a little bit about you, Mike, your journey, and a little bit about the person behind the pipes.
Well, I kind of like a lot of these players, I've been fortunate enough to work my way up through the minors, and coming out of school, I knew I wanted to get into broadcasting. I'm a Midwesterner, so I'm a Big Ten guy as well. I got to learn the ways of the newly formed Big 12 out here. But I'm a Purdue guy coming out of school. I got into the minor leagues, worked my way up through AA and then AAA, and then was lucky enough to get the job with Utah. So it's been a lot of fun so far. It's been like drinking out of a fire hose, but Luckily, the team's been winning for the most part, so it's a pretty easy team to root for.
So what have you seen from the Utah Hockey Club in these first 4 games now, obviously sitting at 3-1-0, but they are – the scoring has been there for the first 3 games, disappeared yesterday. Yeah. What do you believe in? What are you still curious about that we've got to learn more about over the next, obviously, rest of the season?
Well, we knew the team would be able to score. Even going back to Arizona, a lot of these players, had no trouble putting up points. And on a team that truly just didn't finish very well in the standings in Arizona, they were still able to put up goals. This team is no different. I know we got shut out the other night against New Jersey, but I kind of write that one off. It was a Monday game in Newark after we're coming down from a Saturday night overtime winner at Madison Square Garden. So it's a bit of a trap game for us, but this team is going to be able to score. There's no doubt about it. You look at the captain, Clayton Keller, 4-time All-Star, 30-goal scorer. He is the real thing, and also Dylan Guenther. And GM Bill Armstrong was able to lock up Guenther for the next 8 years, including this season. And that's a huge deal because entering yesterday, he was the league leader in goal scorer, and he's only 21 years old, but he belongs, and he's a huge difference maker. This is a young group. It's a group that is still probably, a bit away from that championship window, but it's a young core that everyone should be excited about because there are not a lot of teams in the NHL that have this youth movement going on that Utah does. And there's a lot of teams that have this much skill up front. So I'm still curious to see how the back end shakes out, the defense core for Utah, because there are so many new pieces. There are 8 NHL defensemen on the roster right now for Utah. All of them had to be either re-signed or brought in free agency or via trade. So there's a lot of new chess pieces for Andre Tourigny to move around on that blue line. But so far, so good. I mean, a 3-1 start, that's about as much as you can ask for.
So kind of along those lines, what is the ceiling for this club, do you think? If everything goes right with these young players, what can they do?
I think this could be a playoff team. I mean, the ceiling for this team is high, right? Especially since we just don't have as much data on guys like Logan Cooley, who's only 20 years old, taken 3rd overall a couple years back. I mentioned Dylan Guenther, who was another high draft pick a few years ago. Like we don't know the ceiling on these young guys, but if they continue to produce, I mean, we've seen them knock off some of the league's best teams in New York, who was last year's President's Trophy winner, and the New York Islanders, who should be pushing for the playoffs as well. So there's no reason to think that the ceiling of this team won't be in the playoffs. I think realistically, this will be a team that's battling to get into the playoffs come March and April, just because it's an 82-season grind. There's a lot of ups and downs, and this is still year 4 of Bill Armstrong's rebuild. So there's still some steps to be taken, but boy, you have to like the returns early.
So looking at this team now, what do you expect to see over the next couple of weeks as they kind of settle in? Obviously, they had so much juice and there's so much excitement and they've been playing free. You rack up a couple of losses, you rack up a couple of wins. Where do you think this team is headed now over the next, I guess, immediate future and what kinks they're going to be able to work out?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't worry as much about the letdown from the start of this season. I mean, you think about Monday, about yesterday, and yes, that was a letdown game, 3-0 in New Jersey on a 1 a.m. local start time. It's a little different feel to it, but also within the first few games, there have been a lot of ebbs and flows. This team has coughed up a couple leads, but then got them back, and I think that's part of the exciting part about this young group is that Dylan Guenther, all he does is score clutch goals. Like he had the overtime winner a couple nights ago. Josh Doan, a 22-year-old, the son of Shane Doan, he scored the game-tying goal against the New York Islanders a couple games ago. And these are against good teams. So I think the young players' ability to convert in those crucial moments is really exciting. And I've been talking about the young guys. There are also a lot of established NHL guys that are huge difference makers. I mean, there were 6 Stanley Cups added to the roster in the offseason by Bill Armstrong. And 2 with Ian Cole, a veteran defenseman. Mikhail Sergachev won a couple. He's the team's number 1 defenseman. Kevin Stenlund has been a crucial piece in the bottom 6. He won it last year with the Florida Panthers, and Robert Bortuzzo, who will probably be called upon with the injury to Sean Dursey. Not sure of the extent of that injury yet, but he's another depth piece on the back end that's filling in as well. So there's a lot of experience and a lot of guys who have won on this roster, and that's huge when you're trying to help young players mature.
Well, Mike, we can't thank you enough for coming on with us today, and we look forward to listening to you often.
Yeah, we'll talk to everybody tomorrow night here from Anaheim. So it'll be the home opener for the Ducks, the fourth home opener for this team in the first 5 games. It's been a lot of high-energy games.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
That stinks.
Mike Folta, radio voice of the Utah Hockey Club.
Having to play in every other team's home opener is really hard. You're expected to win your home opener. You know, it's the crowd's there. It's a sellout most nights. Everyone's juiced to have you the season back. That's a tough environment to play in, but hopefully that hardens the Utah Hockey Club a little bit and puts them in a good spot to play in some of those higher leverage, high profile games that they're going to be more used to.
Do you think Mike was in line at the Peter Pan ride?
Probably.
I was pretty surprised how popular that ride still is.
It's very family friendly.
Like the line was...
It's like an hour.
Yeah, like an hour.
Yeah. Winnie the Pooh also.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah. It's long rides. Yeah, I hope he's enjoying his time. But, man, it's cool to have it. I mean, these guys are on the road and doing the whole thing. And, again, traveling better, hopefully staying in better hotels. That was one of the more contentious issues, apparently, in recent years with the hockey club. So hopefully they're having a good time. We'll see if they can end this road trip with a W at Anaheim.
Motel 6 or better.
It's hard to get worse.
Hey, that's
Motel
slanderous.
6 are worse?
Slanderous.
Shout out to our friends at Motel 6.
They will leave the light on for you, Ben.
What's worse? What are the worst brands than that?
I don't know. I'm not out here to slander hotel
It's
chains.
like it's family
You guys have done
owned
this
motels.
already.
Yeah, I know, but not what's worse than that. We've talked about whether or not Motel 6 is good and why they have changed. Because the whole company sold for like $400 million not that long ago.
Jake pulled up the hotels in Wyoming and was reading the worst reviewed ones.
That's
we did
true.
rank them.
We did do that.
Yeah.
Well, Laramie doesn't have a lot of hotels.
Yeah. People just walking in there yelling while you're on the air. What's going on back there?
Well, he's mad the Raiders stink.
Yeah, Lloyd's in there.
Lloyd's
Someone's
up-
yelling at
he's
Lloyd in the producer studio
really-
while Christian's mic's on.
Really upset.
Big flashing lights outside that say, "Don't come in here yelling."
About the Devontae Adams trade. He is fired up.
But, yeah, it's got to be little family-owned motels. That's the only thing lower. I don't think they're putting the Utah Hockey Club up. But they're having a good time in New York and now Southern California.
Stay tuned. Wrapping up the show next. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Utes return home to the Hill to take on an old familiar foe in TCU. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airways, talking sports. They got him make jokes and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarf. Oh my. From the islands to the basketball.
Jake and Ben. This segment is brought to you by Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free and home estimate, 801-566-1255. Peach Doors and Windows. Let's give away some tickets. Jazz Ticket Tuesday, caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. We're hooking you up with a pair of tickets to go see tonight's preseason game against the Kings. Caller 12, 801-575-ZONE. We'll send those tickets to you via SeatGeek. Hey, Ben. Al Pacino has a new memoir out there.
Okay.
And I don't know if he talks about his girlfriend getting stolen by Bill Maher or not. That may be too recent.
Oh, did that happen?
Apparently.
Oh,
The baby mama for
can't
his...
compete with Bill Maher,
The baby mama for like his 2-year-old or whatever apparently is now dating.
a much younger man, and
Much younger.
65-year-old Bill
Spry.
Maher.
But anyway, he talks about how he almost got fired from The Godfather, which was kind of his... I don't think it was his first movie, but his launch into superstardom. But then also talked about the other actors that were being considered for the role. And I wonder your thoughts on if these actors could have pulled it off.
Okay.
There's 3 of them.
It's one of the great roles and performances in American cinema history.
Right.
Yeah.
Ryan O'Neal.
Okay. Has some real chops. R.I.P. just died, right?
Yeah, I don't know, though. I don't know if that would have been a fit. But then again, I'm not as familiar with Ryan O'Neal's catalog as maybe
C.
others.
Barry Lyndon, yeah.
Bob Redford.
Okay.
He's too blonde for it.
Too charming. He's too boyish.
Okay.
Even though I think Pacino has some boyishness there. It's kind of part of the character, right?
The
He's
whole
the young
arc
guy.
is boy to...
Yeah, to man.
Yeah.
But he's too like good looking. Al Pacino's even then, even though he's quite handsome, he's kind of cold. He's kind of got a cold face, which worked. Anyways.
Well, you know what bugged me though is like if you read the book, he's supposed to come back from Sicily like deformed.
Oh, really?
And they barely made like a little scar, you know. Or Warren Beatty.
Okay, Warren's cool. That's not the worst. It's like they didn't sprinkle Robin Williams in there or something like.
Yeah, there's not no.
There's not an okay that never
Jerry
would have
Lewis.
worked. Yeah, right. We're gonna go a totally different direction. No, all of those probably could have worked, but it really worked for Pacino. And then he comes out of that movie and can make any movie he wants. Like, and he takes some crazy roles. He does some really crazy things, like Dog Day Afternoon, which I don't need to get into the whole backstory of what that movie is, but it's pretty wild considering that was the 70s to make that movie is interesting.
I think casting stories are really funny.
Yeah.
Because casting just obviously isn't just about acting talent, whatever that is. There's, you know, the buzz and the name and all that stuff. Like, for example, did you know that the best thing that ever happened to Paul Newman's career was James Dean dying? Because James Dean was the hot young actor, right? Had all these roles lined up. And after he died, they were looking for a good-looking young cool guy. And all of a sudden, Paul Newman's getting all these roles. Yep. And next thing you know, he's a legend.
John Lithgow said no to being the Joker in the original Tim Burton Batman.
Oh.
That Jack Nicholson took and has probably made $1 trillion off of.
Well, he made that super unique deal with that movie, right?
Right.
That he got points on the back end.
Yeah.
So he's still making money.
And John
from that
Lithgow,
movie.
I guess, notoriously said, "Who wants to watch a movie about Batman?" Well, everyone forever now. Apparently.
Well, that's the dumbest take ever. People were watching Batman Forever before that movie.
Yeah. So
Adam West was relevant.
Right. So yeah, that was a bad choice. Instead, he went on to do greats like Harry and the Hendersons.
Hey, I love John Lithgow.
So do I, and I love Harry and the Hendersons.
I mean,
but weird to pass on a role that he would have been really good in.
Third Rock from the Sun is one of the like sneaky best sitcoms ever. It was hilarious.
French Stewart.
Never gets its due. He wasn't the funny part.
No,
of that.
he wasn't. But they tried to bill him as the funny part.
John Lithgow was the funny part.
Yeah.
Wasn't no? I always get who's the other Charles Grodin. I always get them confused for some reason.
That's a legend.
Charles Grodin was in one
Beethoven.
of my favorite movies, Clifford.
He's the dad. He does all these dog movies. Was Clifford a dog movie?
No,
Not about the big red dog.
No, Clifford is the movie where Martin Short plays a little kid.
Oh, right.
And it's amazing.
He's one of the great straight men in comedies of all time. He's so funny. Not Martin Short.
Charles Grodin.
Charles Grodin is so funny. Also, rest in peace.
All right, stay tuned. It would have been cool to see Bob Redford as Michael Corleone.
He could have done it. All of those guys could have done it. They really could have. But they went to the right guy.
Yeah.
Now Pacino's a cartoon character, but
who just had a child with Bill Maher's girlfriend.
Bill Maher's 68.
Is he that old?
Years old, yeah.
Wow.
And she's like, yeah, I had to go for a much younger man.
You need somebody a little more active.
Spry.
Stay tuned. Hans and Scott are here
Thanks,
next.
Christian.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.